I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight. For those who don't know, I'm Christopher Capone. I'm the conservation agent with the town of Westport. We are in the process of updating our open space plan through cooperation with the Land Trust, Ross Moran, as well as a contract we got with Serpide. Karen Pettinati is here. They are helping us through the process to provide a new open space plan. We currently have a plan that is expired, but reviewing that plan, it appears that we have met a lot of the goals that we previously had set for the community, which is wonderful. We have provided new parks, new places for individuals to play, as like the playground out here, as well as other playgrounds that are currently awaiting some renovations from the recreation. So I want to thank you all again for coming. Our committee members are here sitting with us. We have Dick Brewer, Dana Stewart, Ross Moran, Ray Raposa, John Bullard, and Lisa Feidelberg. Myself, as well as Karen Pettinati. So I will turn it over to Karen at this moment.
Thanks, Chris. It's Pettinati, but Pettinati totally works also. I'll take it. So we're, I'll start. So I'm from Serpide. It's the Southeastern Regional Planning and Economic Development District, which is a long way to say basically we are a regional planning agency that provides technical support to municipalities with different projects they're taking on. And I'm on the environmental team, so we tend to manage the open space recreational plans. The master plan is another thing that Serpide will do for communities, and that's more on housing and economic development. And this one focuses on recreation, open space, protection, preservation. So you have us from the environmental team joining you. And yeah, basically we kind of just like do public engagement, we'll do plan writing, but we're here to listen to the community to hear what you want for your plan, and then we do our best to write it as you have asked us to. So the way this will go, our presentation, yeah, we'll do just a quick overview of what is an open space and recreation plan, OSRP for short. And then Chris and Ross will go into the old plan and talk about what the goals were from that and what accomplishments have been made since the old plan. And then after we do that, we'll go into essentially what are the current priorities. And we have committee members have offered to do short presentations on things that they are working on in town and things they care about and want to receive feedback on. And hearing from you all, we have this, we have the survey, there's a feedback box, so anything you hear, any thoughts you have, please feel free to either submit this way or email us or reach out, because we want as much public feedback to inform this process as possible. So I'll get started with what is an OSRP. It is a municipal document that supports the management, essentially, of your natural resources and recreation areas. And it's also like a blueprint for decision making, where once you have this document, it helps guide policy and decisions that the town makes. It can also help with grants that the town applies for. There are certain Division of Conservation Services grants that require this. And even for ones that don't require it, it's really helpful when you're writing a grant to be able to reference your plan and say what your project is, how it aligns with your open space plan. So it can also, we have a lot of language in here that you can just use in your grants. I've heard from land trusts around the area that they'll just take language from an OSRP and put it in a grant application, and it can just streamline the process. So I want to set y'all up for success for the next 10 years. These are good for 10 years now. Okay, and I like to just define open space briefly, because I found it very confusing when people first started talking about open space. And this is my way of understanding it. It's pretty much anything outdoors, because it's like conservation areas, farms, forests, fields, wetlands, water bodies, essentially any natural resource the town has and wants to maintain, be aware of, protect. And then also recreation and cultural sites, cemeteries, historic sites, trails, sports facilities. This is like colloquial, that's not the official definition, but for me, it's like, if it's outside, it's what we're talking about here. And it relates to public and private spaces and protected and unprotected. So pretty broad. And then why have one? We talked a little about this before. essentially in this process, we collect public feedback on this side, and on the back end, we go and inventory all your natural resource areas, protected and unprotected lands, major habitat corridors, essentially anything the town would be interested in protecting and preserving. We do an inventory of that in one of the sections, and then also there's a plan for conservation in it also. So we'll also inventory all the chapter lands in town, so all the farmland and forest land that's not currently protected, but it's under the right of first refusal, where like if that's gonna sell, the town has the option to purchase it first. There's an inventory in here for that. This is only 63 minutes, so I'm gonna stop talking, but basically, there's a lot, and then you can set goals for preservation and conservation. Okay, and yeah, here's just a breakdown of the different sections of the plan. Yeah, we don't need to go into these, but there's the inventory and analysis right there, conservation and recreation lands inventory, analysis of needs, that's where the public feedback comes in a lot, and then we create an action plan out of that. So, passing it over to Chris or Ross, which one of you guys taking this on?
Great, thanks, Karen. So, 8 years ago was the last time Westport undertook an update, and at that time there was a lot of different things that we were hoping to accomplish in town. There wasn't a recreation department at the time, which was great, and that over that span of time, that has been created, and the expansion of recreation efforts in town, including the fields at WYAA, Westport Youth Athletic Association. And a variety of protected lands across town and a number of open space items. The reason why this plan is so important is that we want the community, to really inform what is a priority moving forward. Just like a town's master plan, this plan helps inform, what is a priority for everyone to enjoy in the outdoors over the next 10 years. Now, Westport has a lot of different assets and resources when it comes to the outdoors. We have streams and brooks and rivers. We have farms. We have beaches. We have really great recreational spaces at this point and improving. So, all of that resulted from the work that was done 8 years ago and in thinking about what the town really needs and then identifying. So this shows sort of the importance of why doing this for the next 10 years can continue that momentum. So we wanted to just share a couple of success stories, some photos from the last plan. So in the last plan, there were things like we need to do some work at landings. So we need to either improve some docking, we need to improve some accessibility, both at the Hicksbridge landing and at the head town landing. There were improvements as well as at Adamsville. And so there continues to need to be further improvements at those landings, but that was one item from there. Hey, Sean, come on in. Go ahead, Karen. Thanks. This is just an example of, there was some protected open space. Our organization, the Westport Land Trust, protected the old St. Vincent de Paul camp and created it into a community park for many folks in town to enjoy. So again, a resource that wasn't there before, but it was identified in the plan to preserve that property, open it to the public, and open it to as many people who can enjoy it as possible. So it has amenities for everybody there. Another big part of the plan is preserving farms in town. Westport has a long agricultural heritage and still has a great number of working farms. And it's at the core and the heart of what this town is and its town's identity. And so in that last plan, there was a goal to preserve some specific farms, including this farm right here off of Main Road, but more broadly, preserving that agricultural heritage and allowing farmers to continue to do their work here in town. One of the other big accomplishments is right now actually is a barrier beach management plan is being completed, and the beach committee, who Sean Leach is a member of our committee here at the Open Space, who just joined us, has done a lot of work around the beach and partnering to make a more formal effort at the beach and really doing a great job managing that area. The barrier beach management plan will help think more about how those open spaces interact with infrastructure, people, and a number of policies longer term. So that plan was a big part of the goal in the previous open space plan and will help inform the next one. So this is just an example of some of the fields up at the Westport Youth Athletic Association. It was identified in the plan that there needed to be some more athletic fields created. A big collaboration between the town of Westport, the town's Community Preservation Act, as well as the Westport Youth Athletic Association made this happen. And they continue to expand their efforts off 177 in their complex. There's also a bike committee who's working very actively on creating a bike route, extending the bike route through Fall River into Dartmouth, and has made some significant strides on route and potentially where it could be, how it could be funded and where it could go. This is the recreation department programs. Prior to this plan, there was not a recreation department. Now the town has a really robust recreation department that offers not only programming, but accomplished getting a new playground out here outside the town hall annex, and is working on another new playground in the north end of town. And that's just a couple of photos of the head town landing, some accessibility improvements up there, but also just in general working on some failing infrastructure up there as well. Oh, there's a picture of, of that beautiful playground out here outside of the town hall annex. Go ahead, Karen. And then we, at the St. Vincent de Paul property, we built a natural playground for families to enjoy. So, at this point, 8 years ago, there weren't any of these things for folks to really enjoy. And then again, another good example of all of the organizations in town, both the town recreation department, other town departments, private nonprofits work together to provide opportunities for folks to enjoy these spaces. And this is just an example of a Halloween event in town. And then also during the last open space plan, there was identified a need to think about how we manage water resources in town and how we manage infrastructure around those water resources. So a targeted integrated water resource management plan was completed in 2020 that helps guide and manage some of those things longer term. And lastly, there was a goal to create a river center at the head. And the Westport Watershed Alliance has done that, has completed that, and has opened new educational programming and expanded their testing of the river up at the head for folks to really truly understand that component of the work.
All right, thanks, Ross. Looks like we have Dana up next.
All right.
That's Dana.
Yes. Thank you very much, Ross. Hi, everybody. Dana Stewart. I'm the Recreation Director for the Town of Westport. And you can visit us at the Town of Westport page here, and it talks about our Recreation Commission, which is a group of community volunteers that help support the rec department. They do this by establishing goals. They advocate for recreation in the town, and in general support our efforts. So Ross had mentioned that we created the annex playground. Actually, we created a new annex playground. There was an old structure there that was about 30 years old, and due to the generosity of a donor in town that wants to remain anonymous, as well as CPC funds, we were able to complete that project. That was it opened back in fall of 2024, so it's been about a year now. So our next goal is to improve Bicentennial Park, which is located to the right of Macomber School up off Hunt and Giverick Road. This is town property. It's not managed by the schools, and our vision is to improve the park for all to enjoy. And the department and the Recreation Commission have CPC funds allocated to help us replace the playground structure and renovate the park. But right now we're trying to find more funding. I applied for a grant. I have someone on our commission who's also looking at grants. Nothing has come in yet, but we're continuing to work on it. We do have enough funds to get started, hopefully, and I'm working on that too with the playground company that has been identified to replace the old playground at this park, as well as talking with various companies on overall renovation. So we decided it's a 3-phase type project. The first phase is to replace the playground structure. This is how it is right now, and this has the older playground there. We would use the same footprint to put in a new playground. This is a skate park back here, and we have been working at getting community input as to what kind of structure they'd like to see back there. And the majority so far said a new skate park, but we've also heard from community members that they'd like tennis courts, and also we've had a need for pickleball courts, which I'll talk about in a minute. So our first phase is to replace the playground. Phase 2 is to renovate the grounds as a whole. In this diagram, we have what we'd like to put a walking path, a paved walking path all around the perimeter of the park, as well as kind of dissecting the middle of the park. Reasons for this: seniors who have struggles with walking on trails could use a path that is nicely paved. Parents with strollers can easily walk around and get exercise. Kids can learn how to ride their tricycles. So there's a lot of nice reasons to kind of implement that. We would replace the fencing, and then we'd also renovate the basketball courts that are there. And we have the idea to put up a small pavilion so that community members can rent it for birthday parties, etc., and then enjoy the park as a whole for their event. All right. So right now, this is the proposed playground design for Bicentennial Park. Unfortunately, this design might be above our budget. I'm working to scale back the design a bit since we haven't been able to get additional grant funding. But the idea is we have this nice playground structure in the middle. We have a set of swings. We have a climbing structure here with ropes. This is a zip line here for kids to use. And then we have an in-ground whirl spinner, a wheelchair accessible swing here, as well as a 2 to 5 year old tot area. If you go to the next slide, that's another view. These two towers, we might have to scale back to just one tower if the budget's an issue, but these two towers, they are caged in for safety, of course, but it allows kids to climb and slide down with multiple slide options, which is really kind of fun and exciting. And of course, the zip line is something new to the town and kind of exciting as well. So, and then we're trying to bring in some natural elements of nature, and this is a dragonfly in here, and we have some other touches around the park. Just another view, and that's it. The one other thing I wanted to mention is community members have reached out about pickleball, tennis. The new superintendent with other individuals for safety decided this fall that the tennis courts at the Westport Middle High School would be closed to the public during school hours. This is not uncommon among other schools, so we are contemplating maybe the idea of putting a couple of tennis courts in the back of that Bicentennial Park area. Also, some community members we've spoken with, as well as the president of the Westport Youth Athletic Association, are on board with an idea to create new tennis courts and or pickleball courts at the fields off 177, the athletic fields there. So again, it's a matter of getting that funding, getting the plans, who's going to do all that work. I've already said that I'm an advocate for this and would support it. So, any questions, or should we move along?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to Ross. You will talk in between every person. That's not every person.
Maybe we can also just remind everybody that if you have ideas or you have thoughts, you can add them through the survey link for the OS, the Open Space Recreation Plan that can be found on the town website. And you can reach out to Chris Capone of the Conservation Commission, and he can help coordinate that for you if you need to look for that link. But any ideas like Dana was just sharing are good ones, and we want to hear them, so make sure that you pass those along in the link. I am tackling the preservation side of things, the conservation and preservation side of things. So, as I mentioned earlier, Westport has just really spectacular natural resources. Many towns hope to have, maybe 2 or 3 of what this town has. And so it's a really spectacular place, and so many people, including everybody in this room, work really hard to highlight that and make it available and or its best use in terms of the public resource. So in terms of conservation, we focus on lands that have significant ecological resources, might have valuable recreation and open space, could be important resources to contribute to clean drinking water or clean air and long-term biodiversity. And then a really special thing in Westport is also farmland, trying to keep farmland in that soil and that valuable soil continuing to be farmed. And so our efforts over the last 8 years have preserved about 1,400 acres in town. And that is a variety of different resources, farmland, ecological resources, as well as some recreational resources. There's a conservation restriction on the WIA land, for example, helping keep it in that use longer term. So really the part of the plan that focuses on all of this is sort of those more natural components of the work that you see in town, and getting those open to the public, or ensuring that the public understands or elicits to us, or gives us, their ideas about what those natural resources are that they would like to see protected. And so we want to hear from you. We want to hear if you want to see a farm preserved. We want to hear if you want to see a special place in town that's habitat-driven preserved. So.
Let's go for Ray.
Thank you. So my name is Ray Raposa. I'm a lifelong resident of Westport. I've farmed in Westport for 50 years, my whole adult life. Little did I know, several years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I was approached by a man named Al Averill. And he was working for the state, with the state, to designate land of 3 different categories: prime farmland, land of state importance, and then the land of local importance. And with that, I think you have a map. There's a map of that that we had seen before, but that took place, and that had a lot to do with the open space. This looks like Berry Hill Farm, which is one of the properties that the Land Trust had preserved, and that's a beautiful place. But other than that, farming in Westport is alive and well. There are a lot of new young farmers in town. I have a list. It's not a big list. Berry Hill Farm, Walt's Farm Stand, again preserved by the Land Trust. Westport Dairy, which is the Ferry family on Gifford Road. Milky Way Farm on Narrow Ave. These are they have children. It's young farmers in their 40s. Andrew Orr's Farm Stand, another young farmer. We have a neighborhood farm on Drift Road. That land isn't preserved, but they seem very active on Drift Road. Skinny Dipper Farm, who has land in Westport that they're renting. They're a big part of the farmers market as well. And that's just a very small sample of the new young farmers in Westport. So help your local farmers. It's really a detriment to the town, and it helps the town. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Next we have Sean.
Hi, my name is Sean Leach. I am both the most popular and unpopular guy in the summertime. Because of various reasons. We have probably one of the nicest beaches in all of southern New England, by far, and Cherry Webb Beach. The town beach was acquired in the 60s, basically as a donation by some very nice gentleman. And it includes the Cherry Webb Conservation Area, which is about 64 acres of basically preserved land. We recently just picked up another 100 feet of beach. We all know they're not making any more beaches, and our goal here is to try to keep what we have and manage what we have. One of the hardest things about the beaches is this barrier beach management plan and what the town wants to see and what it has to do. And that's what makes me most popular and unpopular. We get a lot of comments about bird protection that we're required to do on the town beach, and that limits access to certain areas of the beach and certain times of the beach, the most popular time, the summertime. That we can't do anything. People want to see us, level off the sand, put Moby mats down, clear paths, and we really can't do that between April and August when the birds are present. We typically get anywhere between 2 and a half dozen nesting pairs on the beach that we have to protect as our requirement for the other beach that we acquired, which is the Nubble Beach, as it's called, and off of Beach Avenue. We're in the process of trying to increase handicap accessibility to the beaches. That's one of the most difficult challenges we face. In this Barrier Beach Management Plan, they suggested some things. The Barrier Beach Management Plan is basically something that would preserve the beach and also keep it natural. It's one of the best things about Cherryware Beach. You go down there, it's pretty much the way it was 50 years ago, 100 years ago. It's just dunes and beach for 3/4 of a mile. That's a very important resource area. It's a very important habitat area. It's a very important recreation area. It's probably the most popular recreation area, although the Land Trust with its acquisitions are running close second.
Town beaches.
But the town beach with 4,000 beach passes is used almost all year round now. It never used to be. Those of you who see me on the beach, usually in the winter with my dogs, know who I am, with my huskies. In the summertime, one of the things we have to do is basically manage that beach and keep it as pristine as possible, keep people out of the dunes and along that line. One of the things that happened this year that we're becoming aware of at the committee and as part of this Barrier Beach Management Plan is access to the beach for handicap and the elderly. This is the first year we tipped the scales where there are more senior citizen beach passes than regular beach passes being sold. 53% of the passes that are being sold are senior citizen. And I have to admit that I am also a senior citizen this year, so I'm looking forward to that. So the management of the beach requires a lot of things that people will not find appetizing, and that includes limiting access, limiting activities, limiting a lot of things. But in the long run, with some help, we will maintain the beach as it is for as long as we can. We all know as we go down there, we're losing pieces every year. The Land Trust has picked up a very nice section of beach over off Brayton Point Road that I appreciate. As a kid, I used to spend a lot of time down there. We don't manage that at the beach committee, but as part of the beach management plan, that's something that we are looking at also. Beach Avenue is a very contentious management area that there has Land Trust property and town property, and there's a little problem about access and who should be and how it should be done. But essentially we're trying to do, and we're looking, I get plenty of comments between April and September about what should be going on at the beach. It's from then on, we'd like to hear from you. We meet every third Thursday in the town hall, and we like to hear comments from people. We've had a couple who come in with very good comments and of things that we can possibly do. We are limited budget-wise, but anything that you'd like to do, we're here to listen.
Yeah, I'm gonna go right from here, if that's okay with you. Yeah, perfect. Hello, everybody. My name is Lisa Feidelberg Costa, and it's a privilege to serve on the Westport Commission on Disability. I think the biggest challenges that we have today is that I have an invisible disability. So I'm a stroke survivor, and I also have a brain injury. So we constantly, with my colleague here, I'd like to introduce Martin Costa, who's also vice chair, and he's actually representing the Westport Commission on Disability as well. And I think the biggest obstacle sometimes is Martin obviously has a visible disability where I don't have a visible disability. And so it's challenging every day, you know, when you have certain deficits that aren't readily seen. So we try to educate the community and also work with people that have disabilities within our community and try to give them the best support that we can, including accessibility. And it's been a privilege working with Mr. Capone, Ann Ross, and other members of Open Space that look to us for information and how we can make things readily accessible for people with disabilities, especially the Recreation Department, because we are a vital part of the community and we like to bring awareness when it comes to people with disabilities and, of course, the elderly, but most importantly is accessibility. And it's been a privilege to serve and learn about open space. I encourage everyone here within our community to watch the public access. We do public service announcements, which I had the pleasure of doing with Ross, so that we can educate people what open space is all about. And we welcome any type of feedback, whether it be through Open Space or the Westport Commission on Disability. And I look forward to meeting all of you and giving a positive impact based on the Westport Commission. So thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Michael.
Hi everyone, I'm Michael Burris. I'm the town planner here in Westport, and I'm going to talk to you about a couple of projects that the planning board's working on. So as Ross noted earlier, we did install new floats at Hicks Bridge Landing over the summer, but also in progress right now is a redesign of the parking lot. So the way the parking lot currently works is that stormwater flows from the parking lot directly into the Westport River. And this is an issue because it can introduce pollutants into the river. So what we're working on designing is taking that stormwater from the parking lot into stormwater basins where it would be treated and then discharged to the river. Then, while we're doing that, we're also working on planning to rebuild the boat launch. So we're going to make that a little bit wider so it's easier to pack the boat into. And then we're going to rework the parking lot layout and the access on the site to try to maximize the number of parking spaces on that site because it's a pretty constrained site. So where that stands right now is the preliminary engineered designs are complete, and we're working on finding funding for advancing it to final engineered designs, permitting, and construction. So the town has two shared use trail projects underway. The first is the Quequechan River Rail Trail extension, which Ross had talked about earlier. It's a really small section right up here, but it's really important in the greater South Coast Bikeway because it connects Westport to Fall River via the Narrows. And the only other way you could get to what the South Coast Bikeway and Fall River would be to go all the way around North Watuppa Pond. So it's a small but important segment. And then to the east, the South Coast Bikeway Alliance and Serped are helping the town design a shared use trail, most of which would be completely off the road, that would connect the town through Dartmouth to New Bedford and then on to Fairhaven and other towns on the bikeway. It'll go up to the Cape, and the end goal from the Cape is to go up to Provincetown. We were awarded $285,000 to advance this design. Not just Westport, but Dartmouth and New Bedford. We're working, we're coordinating that work together. So stay tuned. You'll be able to get involved with this, with public engagement sometime here pretty soon. And here is a look at the segment of trail that has been designed. We're calling this the Watuppa Connector. The Watuppa Connector will go along the bank of South Watuppa Pond. And one thing that we're asking Mass DOT to allow us to do, or for them to fund, is to construct a boardwalk. A boardwalk, although it's not completely necessary in this location, it would be an opportunity to expand further into Watuppa Pond because there's no public access to the pond right now. So that is a potential recreational opportunity that could be built upon in the future. For the time being, the 12-foot wide shared use path is going to terminate at Old Bedford Road, which is right here or right here. And we're going to upgrade the SRTA bus stop so it's more accessible. Right now it's just a dirt patch, and if you were in a wheelchair, there'd be no way you could get to that stop. As well as creating a pedestrian island in the middle of Route 6 and having a signalized crossing to make it a little bit safer for cyclists, pedestrians, and other users to get across the street. Now I'll turn it over to Karen.
Thank you everyone who spoke. Give them a round of applause.
So any thoughts? This is the public feedback part. I'm just here to, you know, kind of navigate the situation, but please ask all the people questions who just spoke, or any thoughts that were inspired by these presentations. We'd love to hear them. We have Lauren in the back who's taking notes, so this will go into the OSRP, essentially, whatever you have to say. And also, if you're feeling shy and you want to write it down on a note card, you can do that as well. So I don't think I'm going to use this microphone, actually, since we're just taking questions. Does anyone have any thoughts? Or yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Can I just stand here?
Yeah, everybody. Right. Yeah.
I'm David Lima. I'm on the Council on Aging board, and I just want to say several points about this. It's imperative, I think, for planning for the future to know some facts and data. And the data is that 53% of this town is over 60 years old. So we, as a community, have to figure out how to deal with seniors. And there's a bifurcation, I think, of seniors that's evolved. And I personally learned it when I worked on the land trust. When I saw from the first years I was at the land trust, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, there were 5 volunteers. Okay, we were cutting trails. And when I left to go on the Council on Aging, there were 25 seniors working on the trails. And it was clear that the movement, when I left Northampton and moved from Western Mass here, that Northampton was beginning to see all these people moving in from different parts of the country because it had cultural, educational, it had all these components. Well, where we live here in this beautiful South Coast is, I believe, a decompression chamber. That's what it is. It's Vermont by the sea. That's where we live, okay? And we have to figure out how to accommodate that. And personally, I think, without ruffling any feathers, we focus too much on children and not enough on the seniors in this town. Historically, we have 8,000 seniors here and very little activities for them to do. We're stuck in a little building over on Reed Road, 5,000 square feet. We're just busting at the seams, trying to get, we have all of our activities tied up with schools. And schools have these, you know, very specific, particular safety issue, which I worked at DSS for 30 years. I dealt with children's issues for a long time. I'm not against children. I'm for seniors right now. We need some place to do things. And if we can't play tennis anytime during the day, then we can't play pickleball any time of the day. We can't go on a bicycle ride. We can't virtually do anything. And yet we have a huge cohort of people. In the senior world, we have the people you see at nursing homes, then you see the rest of us who are in our 60s, 70s, and 80s, who can do what you do and want to do what you do. And we need a place. And lastly, I would say, in context to this notion about seniors and its place in this town and open space, is that we did a survey at the Council on Aging, and we got 800 responses. And in the survey, the most salient point they made was they wanted to age in place. They wanted to stay here. They didn't want to go somewhere else. This is a beautiful complex, a beautiful region, and we have to figure out how we're going to blend all these things. And I think Ross is right, and all of you are right. We have unbelievable assets. We have beaches, trails. We have everything. But we somehow haven't, I say personally, now sitting on the board, we really haven't focused on seniors. It's shameful in a way. And I don't know how, I mean, I think it's a long process to change people's attitude about how we're going to plan what you're talking about for the next 8 or 10 years, and how you're going to incorporate, this vitality of younger, older people. They want to do things, they want to participate, they want to help, they want to be active, they want to play pickleball, not when the school says it's okay to play, not play tennis when the school says it's okay to play. When we want to take a walk, we don't want to ask the school, is it okay to walk? We don't need to be asking, the school department for our activities. I lived in Florida for 15 years. I was the president of a condo association for 10. I saw the world where aging people live, and it's not like this. They don't live like this there. They live differently, okay? And there's no reason we can't do that here. So I think the ultimate is we have to think about going forward the next 10 years that we have to incorporate all these people coming here. We have to figure out how they're going to flourish, whether they're 12 years old, 20 years old, or 80 years old. I'm 80. I don't feel 80, I don't look 80, okay? But I'm 80. And there are people like me who want to do things in this town. And somehow we have to figure out how to incorporate them in all of the things that all of you have talked about, whether it's farming or beaches or trails or volunteering. You know, I'm not going to go into the old high school and the campus idea, but that's how we synthesize all this together in a place where we're working together. And I don't see that happening yet. And I think this is a forum to put the stake in the ground, to start figuring out how to get the yes, not how to get the no. That'll be my final statement.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.
David, I would just add that a part of the plan, just like a master plan, is running down the demographics of a community. And so the beginning sections of the open space plan run through the demographics and really analyze, you know, who is in each of those categories. And that's a part of thinking about, you know, what needs to happen longer term to meet the needs of those demographics. And so, you know, you're speaking on behalf of the Council on Aging tonight. You know, when we draft, one of the next steps is to create a draft, which includes some objectives that are built off of the previous plan, but also through public input. The Council on Aging will certainly have their opportunity to, you know, build on that and make further suggestions to the plan as we do this over the course of about another year or so, right, Karen? Yeah. So, you know, if there's anybody beyond yourself who's involved at the Council on Aging, you certainly will have the opportunity to continue to weigh in on some of these things, you know, moving in the next year.
And also, if you have specific suggestions for that, for ways you would see seniors better integrated in the other facilities, it sounds like you mentioned a few things around like timing and, but we'd love to hear those specific.
Well, I think David made a point, which is a really good point. I don't know whether I agree with the locations, but people who want to walk, they need to keep themselves active. They need safe places to walk. They need places to exercise. Personally, I think we need, if you're dealing with any kind of therapy and rehabilitation, and when I was in Florida, there were swimming pools everywhere, and they weren't just for people to swim to enjoy themselves, they were swimming for rehab, okay? It's an actual component to us staying healthy. So there are things that I think we all collectively can work on, whether it's north, south, east, or west in this town. I think we have to just, because the 8,000 seniors that are here are all over. They're not just living at the Point. They're not just living off of 177. They're in this room. I mean, I bet half the people in this room are, okay, old enough to be in the cohort we're talking about. And the cohort before it, 51 to 59, is 5,000 to 6,000 people. So we have an aging population here. So I think we have to figure out collectively, this isn't a criticism of anyone, it's an observation of how are we going to reconnoiter how we're looking at whatever is on these maps. That's really it. It wasn't meant to be a criticism, it was meant to be an observation.
I'd like to echo what David said. I actually served with David on the Council on Aging board as well. And he's absolutely right. So to echo, the seniors and people with disabilities are strongest in the morning because we have challenges throughout the day, especially myself. You know, I walk with canes at times. I'm out of a wheelchair, thank God. But my strongest time is anywhere from 8 o'clock in the morning till about noontime. And I get very tired. I can only plan, and I'm sure Martin will echo me as well. By 2 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I need a nap. And I've lived in the corporate world for 45 years. So I mourn my old self because I can't keep up the way I used to. And at times it gets very emotional for me because I want to be that person that did 12, 14 hours a day, but my stamina won't allow it. So when we do want to take a walk, we want to enjoy the day, and we want to do it at 8 o'clock in the morning or when we're strong enough to do it. There's times where I can't go to the supermarket because it's so chaotic, and I have a condition called PPPD, which is a peripheral disorder when I'm going down an aisle in a supermarket where things on the shelves will move. And, you know, I'm with a loved one or my husband has to step in, and there are times where I just physically can't do it, where I have to leave. And they'll look at me and I'll say, yeah, oh, I matched today, I look fabulous, but they don't know the challenges that, you know, I fell out of the shower this morning because if I close my eyes and I do what everyone else does by putting their head back and getting the soap out of my hair, I can actually fall and get disoriented. Those are things that people don't see with people with a disability or even the elderly. Now, I share this because I hope that it will allow people to realize that just because someone looks fabulous and I put my makeup on today, I look great, how can she be disabled? Well, you should have been with me at 8 o'clock this morning when I found myself on the bathroom floor. And I'm sure that Martin will be able to echo some of his challenges as well, but David is absolutely right. And in serving with David and the people with the Council on Aging, it's a privilege to work with people that can kind of understand. And when I go around the Council on Aging, I count my blessings, and I also look at people that still go to the Council on Aging, get themselves out of bed, and their loved ones bring them there so that they have enjoyment rather than just looking at four walls. So thank you, David, for being a part of the board with the Council on Aging, and it's always a privilege to work with you as well. So thank you.
My name is Jake McGuigan. Live on Drift Road. I'm a select board member and sit in the conservation. And this is going to be a little bit of a general question for you, Karen. But first off, I want to thank all the committee members. I think you guys do an amazing job. I think open space and preservation of open space in Westport is paramount. As you continue to see pressure from developers and builders and various other entities putting pressure on the local community to continue to build. And this is something for you, Karen, and maybe you don't want to answer it, but from the administration here in Massachusetts, you're continuing to see a push towards taking away local control and permitting. So from Serpent, from your position, you work with many different communities. But the pressure from the administration is let's take away the local permitting, licensing, and various other opportunities to slow stuff down when it comes to green energy. Open space is very important, and I know here John Bullard and the planning board took a step on a lot of the solar stuff, and it went before town meeting. But how do you, in your position, working essentially for the Commonwealth, balance that when they're allowing, let's say, green energy solar companies to come in and eat up open space? I mean, you only have so much open space, and you have people that are landowners that would much rather, I guess, make the money from the green energy than they would obviously putting in a conservation restriction. So how do you, in your position, working for the Commonwealth, kind of balance what's coming from that administration and how local communities are really trying to push back on that? Thank you.
And also to sort of like clarify, we are a quasi-state agency, and no one knows what that means. But we function on grants essentially. So we don't take any. We're not controlled by the state in any way. We apply for grants to assist municipalities with what they want to do, and sometimes we see regional initiatives where we're like, we want to start a regional initiative, and then we'll apply for the grant. So we're sort of a pass-through essentially of state funding to municipalities. And yeah, it's been a major struggle for communities in this region with the MBTA policies that have come in. It's a struggle for us also because
if communities can't get grant funding, then we can't help them. So we have been addressing those issues. Our comprehensive department has been working with towns to figure out how to best plan essentially around what's being asked. And it's like when you're looking at housing and open space, they don't have to be competing, and that's where we really want to help communities make decisions like in informed ways, so that developers don't just like have the run of the place. And also essentially it's like what's being asked from the state is that certain communities are sort of like kind of doing their part for housing. So there's ways to do that where you're not developing on new areas. There's ways to cluster houses into smaller areas and preserve more open space. And that's when we like offer technical assistance and support to communities to plan for that kind of thing. And you have Michael could probably talk about what Westport is doing in those ways. But yeah, essentially we're just trying to best manage what's like coming down the pipes. But yeah, it is a struggle. The housing situation in Massachusetts is a major issue, and we lose a ton of open space. Massachusetts is like one of the most like rapidly developing areas of the country. So how do we do both? But there are really cool ideas in Westport. You have a conservation subdivision bylaw, I believe, where you are. So there. I could talk about this forever, so I won't do that. But yeah, you do have a bylaw that allows developers to do a cluster subdivision, which is smaller houses, same number of houses, but then preserve the whole rest of the parcel that would usually get developed. So we try to help towns essentially like enact that, because it can be hard. Developers like don't take it, right? It's like too complicated, so they just do their regular development. But there are ways towns can like incentivize smart growth, and preservation, and it's a lot of work. There's only, Russ, do you want to?
Yeah, I was just going to add, Jake.
And the solar piece, if you want to talk about it.
So to bring it back to what we're talking about tonight, the part of the plan that's really important when it comes to this is kind of around community setting. So it's identifying the bylaws, the zoning work that the planning board has done and other boards have done, and other other initiatives that might have been set forth by like the select board to really think about how the community is going to shape itself. And so there was a build out plan completed recently. There's priority preservation and build out areas in town. So what this plan does is hopefully overlay a lot of that together so that there's a useful tool for folks in the community to reference, for one, but also setting some objectives, like Karen just said, that, okay, if our community, we hear folks in our community are really looking to do something like a conservation subdivision, what can we do as a town to incentivize that? And so we can create some objectives in here. Ultimately, the plan has to be accepted at the select board, by the select board, and so there's comment there, even more broad comment, by folks who can weigh in on sort of that much larger piece. When it comes to solar, the planning board's done a lot of work on that, as you referenced earlier, and those particular initiatives just continue to come down, and they're have an adverse effect potentially on Westport. And so, they may be advantageous in certain situations as well. So this plan can help kind of identify some of those things where here's some areas that those types of resources could be are not going to affect our natural resources, and those parts that people love about the town the most. So.
Awesome.
There is a new solar siting reform happening. Have you been up on that yet?
Karen, let me make a couple of points. I was very involved with Serped around the train and developed the priority protection area, priority development area concept. And at the time, this was a while ago, but I think, Ross can correct me if I'm wrong, the numbers are still about the same, that in our region, a quarter of the land is already developed, and a quarter of the land is protected, and half of the land is up for grabs. There's not as much activity in the planning board now because the economy's kind of down. But this is an attractive place. What does the word attractive mean? Dave mentioned it. It attracts people, and it attracts investment, and you can think of that as energy. And our job, all of our job, everyone in this room, is how do you channel that energy into constructive ways so that the character of the community we love is protected. One important thing is if you don't have a plan, then you're defenseless. And so having an up-to-date plan, whether it's on housing production or open space preservation or emergency management, we have a tremendous town planner in Michael Burris, who's great at coordinating all the plans that are going on now, but also in applying for successfully grants to help implement them. I think, I was talking to Lisa earlier, that the goal of how do we protect the open space that helps to define Westport. You think of biking or driving down a Westport road and seeing the stone wall, which Sean is an expert at. That is characteristic of Westport, but what's behind the stone wall? Usually it's a farm, which is open space. So as Ross said in his remarks, we want to keep farms farming. And the planning board received all kinds of proposals from solar developers to locate large-scale solar facilities on farms because the farmers don't want to grow a last crop of houses. They want to stay in the farming business, and solar can help them do that. But what I was talking to Lisa about when I studied architecture is that you can think about a specific need, whether it's people with disabilities or seniors, or you can think about what's called universal design. I'll just give you one example. We used to have lots of round doorknobs, right? But we figured out people have arthritis and they can't grip around doorknobs, so most doorknobs have a lever now. Well, that's just smart design for everybody, not just for people with disabilities. It just makes it accessible for everybody. And so I think what we want to do, and we need your input to do it, is how do we protect open space, and then how do we make sure everyone in Westport can enjoy it? And do they have special needs? If they do, can we think about it? There's a great, I'm sure you're familiar with Allen's Pond and the walk that they've done for people with disabilities. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It just takes people thinking about what happens if someone wants to take a walk and they're in a wheelchair. What do you have to do? Or if they're blind, what do you have to do? And you can do it. An example with farms and solar is that I wish we knew this when we started. But someone came up with dual-use solar. What is dual-use solar? It means that you raise the solar panels higher than they usually are. So you put them about, solar panels are slanted. So the low end would be 6 feet off the ground. The high end would be 8, 9 feet. What does that do? That allows animals to graze under the solar panels. So you keep a farm use, and what they've also found is grass, everything grows a lot faster under the solar panels than it does elsewhere because it's not being baked by the sun. So my point is, we think about how can everyone, humans and bunny rabbits, everyone, enjoy the open space that we've got. And the key to that is you letting us know, how do you enjoy it? And what do you need to enjoy it? Like, I want to play tennis in the morning, and if the only tennis courts are owned by the school department, that's a problem, right? So that's what we want to know, because an open space plan, when it starts to lay out priorities about what we need to do, you saw or heard from Ross's point, hey, the last plan, we laid out a bunch of stuff, and guess what? We did it. So this plan's going to be the same, right? We're going to lay out goals, and then with Community Preservation Act, with other things like that, incredible organizations like the Conservation Trust, we're going to do those things too. And so, but it all boils down to, if you haven't filled out the survey, fill it out. If you just have one idea you want to get us across, remember there are 8,000 seniors. Write it down here, put it in the box. We will, and then get your friends to do the same thing, because the point here is, how do we get open space to be enjoyed by everyone here? Thank you. Sorry to take so long.
I have a little to add about the solar and open space. I'm a true farmer. I don't like to see solar anywhere in town, to be honest with you. No one's talking about conservation. It's all about producing energy. But I'm a Farm Bureau member, and Farm Bureau's stance is solar may be temporary, but if you put a house there, it's permanent. And I think that solar, you can reclaim the land. Technology 50 years, 100 years from now may not require the panels as big as they are on as big a place. So I think solar is temporary, and farmland can be reclaimed. Open space can be reclaimed for other purposes. But that's Farm Bureau's stance. If it's a house, it's gone. Solar, it's the lesser of two evils.
We have about 10 minutes left, just as a little time check, but love to hear anyone who hasn't spoke, interested in thoughts, opinions, questions. I'll just start calling it. Yeah.
Steve Wiggins, live on Main Road. I'm just curious about the status of the plan and what the timeline is for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we're wrapping up. We started January last year, so we're wrapping up the first year of the plan, and then we'll have one more year of writing essentially before we submit to the state. And then there's a comment period where the EEA, they look it over and they will send comments back, and Ross and Chris have offered to handle that comment period. And then you'll just need to make some adaptations, and then hopefully you get the stamp of approval and you're good for 10 years and you can apply for DCS grants. Yeah, so start turning up your DCS projects, what I would recommend, because in a year or so, yeah, some of them are very big. Like, some of them require, like, I'm sure you know, Dana, like a lot of planning ahead of time. I won't go off about those grants, but there's great upward. Well, anyway, I know it's different for rural communities also. Okay, that's cool. Other thoughts and questions? Did you have something?
No, I was just going to say, maybe take some of these to hand out to our.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, just to wrap it up.
Yeah, there's a bunch out there if you want to take some. And they can scan, you know, this is.
Right, yeah. That's
Perfect, thank you.
Just to wrap it up for folks who are not in the room, you can give your feedback in a variety of ways. Take the survey online. That's the most important thing to do right now, is we're in that feedback period. So we want folks to tell us what their priorities are. As John said, tell us how you experience the open space in town, more importantly, because that helps us think through the additional items we can do to meet the needs of so many people in the community. And, you know, if you can't find the survey, you can just, on the website, you can find Chris Capone's email, and he certainly can point you in the right direction. So if you're not in the room today, you can still weigh in on this via the survey.
Yeah, and the survey will close out a little under 2 weeks, because we have our next steering committee meeting in November, where we will look at all the survey results, and then we start writing the plan. But just because the survey is closing doesn't mean we don't. There's plenty of time to like submit comments, feedback, like ideas that we really, we won't be writing the action plan in this part until later. So if there are really specific actions around like senior access, ADA access, conservation, that are more specific, it'd be great to have those for this. That'd be like the final writing component, so there's a little bit of time. Yeah, okay, awesome.
Thank you all very much for
Yeah.
coming.
Thank you.